Hi, my name is Ayush Biraris. The camera is here, and today we are going to read Monday, December 15, 2025, the Indian Express. Okay, as if you're new to the channel, you may have and you may have not. So please do read the channel's name. It's to zone out. Most of the times, we mm, very enthusiastically and with a strong motivation try to watch something informative, etc., etc., and then we keep zoning out. We zone out quite easily while watching such kind of content. This is also that kind of content. No, this is no analysis of any kind of newspaper, or for example the Hindu or the Indian Express. No, this is not that kind of video. I am someone who is cultivating a habit of reading the Indian Express, the only newspaper available to in my town. Others like Times of India is available, but we get Times of India a day after. So if I'll get today yesterday's paper. It will be like that. This is the only paper I get every day of the same date. The reason why I read the Indian Express and I like to record it, I feel quite more confident and serious. Like I believe when I'm recording, I am quite more serious than without recording to read. The reason why I'm recording this, I believe even I zone out a lot of times. And to zone out also I need something. I can't zone out just like that. If I'm just doing nothing, I can't zone out. I have to do something, then I'm able to zone out. So if you really want to have some stress-free time, for example, any how no matter how much time you want to, you can use my video to zone out. There is no need to put attention or to listen what I'm saying. I know these are news articles. Trust me, even I don't remember them. So you definitely don't have to remember them or listen to me very carefully. No. In fact, the front page, the most interesting, the page I began my reading with, has 25% of the articles of it. The rest 75% are, is given on the second page, which I do not read because I don't like to read the second page. I just like to read the front page. The reason why I just read the 25% of the articles. So, and as many people say that half of the information is dangerous to know, you should know complete information. But trust me, I'm not going to use this information and not going to implement this anywhere. So neither me nor you, we both are not needed to listen or understand this carefully and completely. I just like to read, and recording helps me boost my activity, reading activity, you can say. The reason why I record, so feel free to not listen carefully, just put it on. Just put it on. I know it may sound unimportant and interesting, whatever it is, but just put it on and go to your dream world. No matter, I'm waiting for you nor you wait for me to say something or to listen something. Please just put on and just go to your dream world. It's completely your life. Okay, so beginning with the first article, the headline is at least 11 killed in attack on Jewish event in Sydney. The subtitle says one attacker shot down, another held, act of evil, anti-Semitism, terrorism, says PM Albanese. Article has been given by Kristen Gelinu, Charlotte, Graham Maclay, and Rod McGurk. I know these are quite difficult names, but as I told you in the beginning, neither I'm gonna remember them nor you have to. You are very free and well to go to your dream world. Just keep this on and let this support your zoning out process. Sydney, December 14. Two gunmen shot dead at least 11 people on Sunday during a Jewish holiday celebration at Sydney's Bondi Beach, Australian authorities said, declaring it a terrorist attack. One gunman was fatally shot by police and the second arrested. The suspect was in critical condition, authorities said. At least 29 people were confirmed wounded, including two police officers, said Mal Lehman. Mal Lenion. Mal Lenion. Guys, if I'm mispronouncing any word, any phrase, any sentence, do let me know in the comments. the police commissioner for New South Wales state, where Sydney is located. The massacre at one of Australia's most popular and iconic beaches followed a wave of anti Semitic attacks that have roiled the country over the past year. Although the authorities didn't suggest those episodes and Sunday's shooting were connected, they said one of the gunmen was known to the security services, but that there had been no specific threat. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese declared it an act of evil anti-Semitism, terrorism that has struck the heart of the nation. This attack was designed to target Sydney's Jewish community. The state's Premier Chris Minns said. The massacre was declared a terrorist attack due to the event targeted and weapons used, Lennon said. Hundreds had gathered for the gathering at Bondi Beach, called Chanukah by the Sea, which was celebrating the start of the 8-day Hanukkah festival. There is much more. As I said, on the front page is just a 25 or 20%. The next title is From Beria to Aurangabad, fans fill Wankhede for another number 10 Messi. The subtitle is Indeed a golden moment for Mumbaikars and India, said by Tendulkar. Article has been given by Mihir Vasavada, Mumbai, December 14. For 3 hours on Sunday, the iconic cricket stadium here turned into a football coliseum, as is always the case on match days. Wankhede Stadium was blue, but today the shade was lighter, the one associated with Argentine footballers. Thousands in the stands were number 10, Sachin Tendulkar, Sachin Tendulkar's number in these parts. But tonight it was for another number 10, the global sporting superstar Lionel Messi. Lionel, 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 Lionel Messi. The first leg of Messi's GOAT India tour had descended into chaos in Kolkata on Saturday, with fans feeling cheated as most of them didn't get to see the one of a kind footballer. On Sunday, Mumbai got its Messi feel. The World Cup winner stepped onto the red carpet laid out for him at 5:51 p.m. and his grand entry got the roof down. Beside him were his club teammates Rodrigo De Paul and Luis Suarez. But all eyes were on Messi as cameras kept flashing where the star ventured. Shy as ever, the 5'7" icon smiled and waved. He would also enthusiastically participate in a kick around with a group of boys and girls who were part of the project Mahadeva, an initiative by Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. The grassroots program targets under 13 children and enrolls them for a 5-year scholarship program that provides coaching and academic support. For the young footballers from the interiors of the state, like Yavatmal, Gadchiroli, Nandurbar, Dharashiv, and Chandrapur, it was a day they would remember for the rest of their lives. Tendulkar underlined the importance of the moment. He thanked Leo for encouraging the youngsters there. He said he hoped football in India reaches heights that they aspire to. Even the fans in the stands had memories to carry home. Messi kicked a few footballs at them, drawing a standing ovation from the crowd. He also gifted his jersey to football India's football ace Sunil Shetty, who recently retired from international football. The next title is over 2,300 orders to block online content via Sahyog Most for WhatsApp. Given by Soumyarendra Barik, New Delhi, December 14. More than 2,300 blocking orders were sent to 19 online platforms, including WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, between October 2024 and October 2025, through the Union Home Ministry's Sahyog portal, according to data obtained by the Indian Express under the Right to Information Act. The period captures the first full year since Sahyog has been in operation, and the number of orders for the first time reveal how the continuous contentious portal has rapidly become a central tool in India's expanding online censorship framework. These orders cover a wide range of online links, including allegedly offensive or unlawful posts online or entire accounts. According to RTI data shared by the Home Ministry's Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, which is responsible for the Sahyog portal, the Meta family of online services, WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, accounted for over 78% of the total 2,312 blocking orders that were sent over the 1 year period. WhatsApp received the highest number of blocking orders by a huge margin with 1,392 notices, followed by Facebook, which received 255 orders, and Instagram with 169 orders. In total, these platforms received 1,816 blocking orders. YouTube announced for 176 blocking orders, and messaging app Telegram was issued 123 blocking requests. Google received 93, Apple 43, and Amazon 23. A further 38 orders were distributed across 11 other online intermediaries, including Microsoft 10, LinkedIn 2, and Snapchat 1, among others. Each order can contain multiple links that platforms are expected to act on. The next title is Bihar Minister Nitin Nabin is BJP's new working president, given by Liz Matthew and Himanshu Harsh, New Delhi, Patna, December 14. After months of waiting, the BJP Parliamentary Board on Sunday appointed Bihar Cabinet Minister and five-term Nitin Nabin as the party's national working president, while Union Health Minister. Okay, okay, this was a very small, very small article given on the front page. The rest is given on the second page, and as I said in the beginning, I'm not very enthusiastic of reading the second page. The next title is Four Chinese among 17 charge sheeted by CBI in rupees 1000 crore cyber fraud, given by Express News Service, New Delhi, December 14. In one of the largest crackdowns on transnational cyber enabled financial crimes, the Central Bureau of Investigation has filed a charge sheet against 17 accused, including four Chinese nationals and 58 companies, for allegedly orchestrating orchestrating a cyber fraud network that duped thousands of Indians of over rupees 1000 crore through fake loan apps, investment schemes, and bogus job offers. Today, I heard this before that bogus is actually an English word, but today, after reading this, I probably almost accept that okay, bogus is actually an English word and not a Marathi word. Officials said the case was registered after the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center under the Ministry of Home Affairs flagged a surge in complaints related to fraudulent investment and employment apps. Investigations revealed that what appeared to be isolated cases had some common links, including fund flow patterns, payment gateways, and digital footprints. According to the CBI, the investigation has revealed a highly coordinated and technology driven network that built an extensive digital and financial infrastructure to conceal its operations. There is a small explain article. The title is Generational Shift. For BJP, having an upper caste leader as its national working president and likely the next president is part of the balancing act and political signaling at which it has proved to be adept over the years. Having an upper caste leader is key at a time when the party has looked to broaden its base and appoint OBCs to important positions in both the party and the government. Okay, this small explain section was related to the article I read before. The final title of a major article on the front page is Hindi and English to Santali or Santali and Mundari, Changing Language of FTII Student Films, given by Soham Shah, Pune, December 14. Discussing films with his friend as a class 12 science student, Manish Singh Baske was disappointed at the quality of cinema being produced in his mother tongue, Santali. Life then took a turn. Baske completed a degree in mass communication and enrolled in the TV wing of the Film and Television Institute of India to study direction. He chose to make his course end fiction film title Where Do the Trees Go in Santali. The film is a deeply personal story of separation from his mother and one last meeting with her while staying at his aunt's house. Despite having such a large population, very few films were coming out in Santali. So as okay, so as I was passing out of the institute, I felt that the cinema should be made in this language because if outsiders come and make our story, then it will have their perspective. If we tell the story of our land ourselves, it will be good for the community as well. And people outside will also get to watch a new kind of cinema, said Baske, who graduated in 2023. Santali is spoken in and around Jharkhand by people from the Santal tribal community, and this change FTII is reflective of sorry, and this change at FTII is reflective of a larger trend, an increasing number of student films being made in languages other than Hindi or English. It's a wonderful kind of change. In some of the languages, it's required that someone comes and makes good films, said Professor Sandeep Chatterjee, head of the direction department at FTII. According to the film catalog available at the institute, only 8 of the 82 student diploma films made at its film wing from 1988 to 1995 included a language other than Hindi or English. However, in the 2019 film wing batch, the last for which complete data is available, 7 of the 10 incorporated languages such as Assamese, Ho, Malayalam, Marathi, Nagamese, Punjabi, and Vancho. Similarly, in the TV Wing 2023 batch, only one film was made solely in Hindi. Three films were made in Marathi and one each in Malayalam, Gujarati, Haryanvi, and Santali each. One film was made using a combination of English, Marathi, and Hindi, while another was made using English, Hindi, Mizo, and Nagamese. While Hindi and English remain popular as film languages at FTII, representation of languages like Marathi, Bengali, Malayalam, and tribal languages has spiked over the past 2 decades. Saurav Munda, a Film Wing 2023 graduate, made his film A River Colored Red in Mundri, spoken by the Munda tribes. His film is set in a mining rich forested village in Jharkhand, scared by the tension between the state and Naxalites, with the indigenous community suffering the most. The film's story unfolds through the eyes of Remil, a 12-year-old boy, and includes real and mythical elements. To me, language is the soul of this film. I cannot imagine telling the story in Hindi or English, because doing so would drain away the authenticity of the land, its people, and their lived culture. The language of a film must rise from the soil it inhabits, from the voices, memory, and rhythm of the place it portrays. Choosing any dominant language would have stripped the story of its identity, Munda said. Chirag Solanki, also from the TV Wing 2000, Chirag Solanki, also from the TV Wing 2022 batch, made his film Through My Eyes in his mother tongue, Gujarati. The great writer Sadat Hasan Manto, the great writer Sadat Hasan Manto said that every language gives a thought to itself, meaning your mother tongue gives your thoughts you don't even know. So while writing in Gujarati, he felt most grounded. Now there's a small happening today section on the front page of the Indian Express. The first paragraph says Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarks on a three-nation tour. He'll first visit Jordan, then Ethiopia, followed by Oman. His today visit to Jordan coincides with the 75th anniversary of diplomatic ties between the two countries. The second point says Ministry of Commerce and Industry will release the trade and wholesale price index inflation data for November. In October, India's merchandise trade deficit had widened to an all-time high of $42.7 billion, while domestic wholesale prices had fallen by 1.21% year on year, the most in 27 months. The third point says Supreme Court will hear a plea seeking the constitution of a national expert committee to formulate guidelines for care, rehabilitation, and protection of persons with autism and other intellectual disabilities. Moving to many people's all-time favorite but mine while having dinner. Economy. Economy section. The first title is FPI's pull out rupees 17,955 crore from equities in December. Total 2025 outflow at rupees 1.6 lakh crore. Given by Press Trust of India, New Delhi, December 14. Foreign investors pulled out rupees 17,955 crore, approximately $2 billion, from Indian equities in the first 2 weeks of this month. In the first 2 weeks of this month, taking the total outflow to rupees 1.6 lakh crore, that is $18.4 billion in 2025. This sharp withdrawal follows a net outflow of rupees 3,765 crore in November, extending the pressure on domestic equity markets. The current trend comes after a brief pause in October when foreign portfolio investors infused rupees 14,610 crore, snapping a 3-month streak of heavy withdrawals. FPIs sold equities worth rupees 23,885 crore in September, rupees 34,990 crore in August, and rupees 17,700 crore in July. According to data from the National Securities Depository Limited, FPIs withdrew a net rupees 17,955 crore from Indian equities between December 1st to 12th. Market experts attributed this sustained outflow to several factors, including sharp depreciation of the rupee and rich Indian valuations. Explaining the outflow, Himanshu Srivastav, principal manager research at Morningstar Investment Research India, said elevated US interest rates, tighter liquidity conditions, and a preference for safer or higher yielding developed market assets have weighed on investor sentiment. Adding to the pressure, India's relatively rich equity valuations have made it less attractive compared to other emerging markets that currently offer better value, he added. In addition to these concerns, Waqar Javed Khan, senior fundamental analyst at Angel One, pointed to weakness in the Indian rupee global portfolio, rebalancing year-end effects, and lingering macroeconomic uncertainty as key reasons behind the continued pullout despite this persistent foreign selling. The impact on markets has been largely offset by strong domestic institutional investor participation. Domestic institutional investor participation invested rupees 39,965 crore during the same period, effectively eclipsing eclipsing FPI outflows. Looking ahead, some market experts believe the selling pressure may ease. VK Vijay, VK Vijay Kumar, chief investment strategist at Geojit Investments, noted that sustained selling appears unsustainable given India's strong growth and earnings outlook, suggesting that FPI selling is likely to decline going forward. Khan added that an expedited US India trade deal could potentially trigger a reversal in foreign investment trends. Meanwhile, in the debt market, FPIs withdrew rupees 310 crore under the general limit but invested rupees 151 crore through the voluntary retention route during the same period. WPI inflation data, FPI movement, global trends to drive markets this week. New Delhi, WPI inflation data, trading activity of foreign investors and global cues would dictate trends in the stock market this week. Analysts said, besides this, movement of rupee against the US dollar and crude oil would also be tracked by investors, they noted. Markets remain volatile and ended this Markets remain volatile and ended the last week in negative territory. Last week, the BSE benchmark index declined by 444.71 points or 5 or 0.51%. This week features an active domestic data calendar with the release of India's wholesale price index, inflation and trade balance figures. Developments related to India US trade discussions will remain in focus, while globally the performance and macro cues from US markets are expected to influence near team sentiment. Ajit Mishra, SVP Research, Religare Broking Limited, said persistent foreign fund outflows and a sharp depreciation in the rupee weighed heavily on investor confidence, Mishra said. Siddharth Khemka, head of research, wealth management, Motilal Oswal Financial Services said, overall, we expect markets to remain range bound with boots of volatility in the broader indices, while any formal breakthrough on the India US agreement would trigger a meaningful market upmove. Okay, the next title is after September debut, Mizoram's new rail link transports its first automobiles to the state capital, given by Dheeraj Mishra, New Delhi, December 14. The rail link connecting Mizoram's capital Aizawl to the Indian Railways network for the first time has successfully carried an automobile rake to the region. The Ministry of Railways on Sunday said a total of 119 Maruti Suzuki cars were transported to Serang railway station, located about 20 kilometers from the state capital from Shengzari near Guwahati in Assam. The station became operational after Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the ambitious 51.38 kilometer Berbi Serang line on September 13, 2025. The transportation of cars is part of Indian Railways initiative to diversify its freight basket, which currently relies largely on bulk goods, and to support the lowering of carbon emissions in the automobile sector. The Berbi Serang line was one of the most difficult railway projects, as the track traverses the fragile mountains of the northeastern state. The freight operation on the line started soon after the inauguration. On September 4, on September 14, 2025, 21 cement wagons were sent from Assam to Aizol, marketing the first height, marketing the first freight movement on the line. The railways said that since then, the route has transported essential goods such as cement, construction materials, automobiles, sand, and stone chips. The first parcel consignment from Serang was booked on September 19, 2025, when anthurium flowers were transported to Anand Vihar terminal via a parcel van attached to the Serang Anand Vihar terminal Rajdhani Express. Between 17 September and 12 December 2025, a total of 17 freight rakes were handled on the ambitious line, said the railways. Apart from the freight trains, there are three passenger trains: Serang Anand Vihar Terminal Rajdhani Express, Serang Guwahati Mizoram Express, and Serang Kolkata Express, currently running from Aizol with more than 100% occupancy. According to the Railways Ministry data, the share of passenger vehicles dispatched by the Indian Railways has increased to more than 20% of the total car production in the country in FY25, a significant increase from 1.7% share in FY15. A total of 10.41 lakh cars were dispatched by the Indian Railways in different parts of the country in 2024 to 25, which is FY25, which is expected to increase to nearly 15 lakh in FY26. The total car loading in railways stood at 9.69 lakh in FY24, 7.70 lakh in FY23, 4.91 lakh in FY22, 3.98 lakh in FY21, and 3.09 lakh cars in FY20. Maruti Suzuki accounts for the largest share of total car loading by railways, followed by Hyundai in second place and Tata Motors in third. Nearly 50% of all cars transported by Indian Railways are from Maruti Suzuki. To encourage the car manufacturers to transport the vehicles via railways, the Automobile Freight Train Operator (AFTO) scheme has been liberalized. Under this initiative, the registration fee for AFT operators has been done away with. Earlier, the fee was rupees 5 crore, which has now been reduced to zero. Along with this, the minimum number of rakes required for transportation has been relaxed from 3 to 1. Almost 80% of the cars transported by railways are meant for domestic sales. There are a total of 133 railway sidings in the country where cars are loaded and unloaded. The next title is Global Investors Eager for Delayed Data to Shed Light on US Economy, given by Reuters, New York, December 14. A host of delayed employment, inflation, and other data in the coming week will give a long anticipated view of the US economy that could help guide markets into year end. US stocks pulled back to end the week after the benchmark S&P 500 had ended on Thursday at a record closing high. Back-to-back disappointing quarterly reports from Oracle and Broadcom, two signature stocks in the artificial intelligence trade that has propelled markets this year, weighed down the heavyweight technology sector. The upcoming data is especially critical because investors and the Federal Reserve have been navigating with little certainty since a 43-day federal government shutdown postponed key reports. The US jobs report for November in due on Tuesday, while the monthly consumer price index, which is closely watched for inflation trends, is out on Thursday. There has been a lack of clarity for investors, said Jim Baird, Chief Investment Officer with Plante Moran Financial Advisors. Strong corporate earnings certainly helped to support the markets. The Fed anticipated rate cuts helped to provide a little bit of a boost, but now it's time to turn out attention back to the underlying economy and what path they are on. We are on. This inverted commas dialogue, as I mentioned before, has someone given. As I told you in the beginning, neither I remember these all. A human can't remember everything, whatever I'm reading like this, including the one who is reading, right? I read to get better in communications as well as I really like to read certain articles. I don't read the entire newspaper. It's the same thing. And what path we are on. A divided Fed cut interest rates by a quarter percentage point on Wednesday for a third straight meeting as it seeks to shore up a labor marker, a weakening labor market. But the central bank signaled borrowing costs are unlikely to drop further in the near term as it awaits more economic clarity. Because of the government shutdown and the catch up schedule, we have we have essentially 3 months of both labor and inflation data coming out between the December and January Fed meetings, said David Seif, chief economist for developed markets at Nomura. US payrolls are expected to have climbed by a tepid 35,000 in November, according to a Reuters poll. Fed Chair Jerome Powell on Wednesday said, while payrolls have been averaging an increase of 40,000 per month since April, the Fed thinks those numbers are overstated and could instead be an average loss of 20,000 per month. If we start getting negative prints around jobs, you can't avoid the recession discussion, said Marvin Lowe, senior global macro strategist at State Street. At State Street, the monthly CPI data comes as inflation has continued to run above the Fed's target, which could complicate any further Fed easing if inflation does not cool. Three policymakers dissented from the decision to lower rates, including two who argued rates should have been left unchanged. We continue to expect further cuts in January and April, but if the labor market stabilizes, then future cuts may not come until inflation declarates, declarates, Morgan Stanley economists said in a note on Thursday. A report on retail sales is among the other releases next week that will help provide more insight into economic growth. Micron Technology's quarterly report on Wednesday also could draw added scrutiny following the AI turbulence this week. The S&P 500 is up 16% so far in 2025, pushing its gain during the bull market that began in October 2022 to 19% to 90%. December is traditionally a positive month for stocks. However, investors could seek to lock in year to date profits, bringing selling pressure. The approaching holidays also stand to reduce trading volumes, which can lead to exaggerated asset price moves. For the most part, it's been a very, very good year for risk assets, Low said. If you get some shaky numbers or you don't get a resounding reason to add risk. It could add volatility in the market just because of the thinner markets. The next title is India's strong champion for global tax transparency, OECD official, given by Press Trust of India, New Delhi, December 14. India is a strong champion in implementing transparency measures against offshore tax evasion, and its recent campaign asking taxpayers to correctly report their undisclosed foreign assets has led to disclosure of properties worth more than rupees 29,000 crore, a top OECD official has said. Head of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development OECD Secretariat, Zaida Manatta, said in an interview that these notable outcomes were a result of India's commitment to global tax transparency and automatic exchange of information standards. Manatta was here recently for the OECD annual plenary meeting of the Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes, hosted by New Delhi between December 2nd and 4th. The France headquartered OECD is a globally recognized body that works for economic and social policy promotion. The Global Forum has 172 countries as members. India is a strong champion in tax transparency and has been supporting the work of the Global Forum since 2009. As demonstrated by the hosting of the 2025 Global Forum plenary meeting in New Delhi, India is continuously supporting the work of the Global Forum and the fight against offshore tax evasion, Manatta said in an email interview. Asked about the OECD's expectations from India vis-a-vis the fight against offshore tax evasion, Manatta said India was meeting its commitment and the requirements of the tax transparency and exchange of information standards. Regarding automatic exchange of financial account information, Common Reporting Standard (CRS), India has a legal framework in place and is on track with respect to the implementation in practice, she said. India, as per Manatta, has benefited from the use of CRS data. India's non-intrusive usage of data to guide and enable nudge. Non India's non-intrusive usage of data to guide and enable, that is nudge, program has delivered notable outcomes. This include a four, this include a 45.17% increase in taxpayers reporting foreign assets, an additional 292 billion INR, approximately 2.41 billion EUR, probably euros, I believe, 297 billion rupees, that is 2. That is probably almost approximately 2.41 billion euros in reported assets and 1.09 billion rupees, approximately 104 million euros in additional income, she said. The OECD official was referring to the campaign initiated by the Income Tax Department and its administrative body, the Central Board of Direct Tax, the Central Board of Direct Taxes, CBDT, responsible for direct tax administration in the country. The next small article is Budget 2026-27. CII suggests reforms, higher capex to sustain growth. New Delhi, the Confederation of Indian Industry (CII) has proposed a comprehensive set of reforms for the forthcoming Union Budget 2026-27 to drive sustained investment growth spanning public, private, and foreign investments, and maintain India's momentum as one of the world's fastest growing major economies. CII suggested increasingly central capital expenditure by 12% and capex support to states by 10% in FY27, launching a rupees 150 lakh crore national infrastructure pipeline 2.0 for 2026-32, offering incremental tax credits or compliance relaxations for firms achieving significant new investment, production, or tax contribution milestones, and establishing an NRI investment promotion fund. It also called for reinstating accelerated depreciation benefits to further incentivize fresh capital expenditure and technology upgrades, particularly for MSMEs and manufacturing industries, provided the measure is structured to stimulate moder- modernization without triggering minimum alternate tax obligations. It also s- it also urged for strengthening the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund (NIIF). Moving to the next title, Fed independence in crosshairs, set to face US Supreme Court test. Given by Reuters, Washington, December 14. The US Supreme Court's conservative justices appear ready to endure President Donald Trump's power to fire a regulatory agency official despite job protections given by Congress. But they have signaled reluctance to give him similar authority over the Federal Reserve in a major case set to be argued next month. The court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority in May, cited what it called the US central bank's unique qualities that distinguish it from other agencies also created by Congress to the independent of direct presidential control. But Trump nevertheless moved to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook in August, setting in motion a major legal battle over presidential powers that imperils the Fed's long-standing independence. Trump's targeting of Cook represents one of numerous ways he has tested the limits of presidential power since returning to office in January. The Supreme Court has let his actions take effect on removing various other agency officials as well as on immigration policy, federal layoffs, foreign aid cuts, rolling back transgender rights, and other matters. Arguments are scheduled for January 21st over the legality of Trump's attempt to remove Cook. The court heard arguments on December 8 involving Trump's March firing on Rebecca Slaughter, a Democratic member of the Federal Trade Commission who sued to challenge the Republican president's action. The conservative justices indicated through their questions that they are poised to rule that Trump did not overstep his authority. The court in September allowed Trump to remove Slaughter while her legal challenge played out. The following month, it left Cook in her post while agreeing to hear arguments in that case. Based on the arguments in the Slaughter case, the conservative justices seem poised to strike down a 1914 law passed by Congress under which FTC commissioners can be removed by a president only for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance, not policy differences. Such a ruling could empower presidents to fire the heads of other agencies that Congress sought to make independent, overturning a 1935 Supreme Court precedent in the process. The 1913 law passed by Congress creating the Fed provided similar tenure protections, and the justices appear to be worried about creating a new legal framework that would let presidents remove Fed officials over mere policy differences. Lawmakers and economists in both parties have long viewed Fed independence, Fed independence as crucial to preventing monetary policy decisions like setting interest rates from being subject to political whims. Cook was appointed by Democratic former President Joe Biden in announcing his decision to fire her. Trump said he was doing so for cause, accusing her of mortgage fraud before taking office, an allegation that Cook denied and called a pretext to oust her for her monetary policy stance. In an earlier case, the Supreme Court in May allowed Trump's firing of a member of the National Labor Relations Board to take effect. But in its order doing so, the court said the action should not be interpreted as granting the president similar power to remove Fed officials. The Federal Reserve is a uniquely structured quasi private entity that follows in the distinct historical tradition of the first and second banks of the United States. The order stated, referring to two iterations of a US central bank early in the nation's history. Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a conservative who has long sought to rein in federal agencies, has suggested in the past that the Fed enjoys a special status within the government. In a 2009 law preview article that Kavanaugh wrote while serving on a regional federal appeals court, he asserted that in some situations it may be worthwhile to insult to insulate particular agencies from direct presidential oversight or control. The Federal Reserve Board may be one example due to its power to directly affect the short term functioning of the US economy by setting interest rates and adjusting the money supply. During the arguments in the Slaughter case, a lawyer said the Trump administration's legal authorities would put Fed independence on the chopping block. Kavanaugh repeatedly asked US Solicitor General D. John Saucer about that. The other side says that your position would undermine the independence of the Federal Reserve and they have concerns about what and I share those concerns, Kavanaugh told Sauer, who argued for Trump's administration. Sauer responded that the Fed is unique, quoting the court's May order. Sauer added that Trump's administration is not currently challenging the tenure protections for Fed officials, with Trump contending the Cook firing was for cause. In the Slaughter case, on the other hand, Trump did not claim to have cause to fire her, instead, saying she did not align with his political agenda. Because of these factual distinctions, the two cases raise different legal issues. The court clearly sees the Fed as special, said Peter Margulies, a law professor at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island. I think the court is convinced I think the court is convinced that an independent Federal Reserve is crucial to a workable government. There is a small briefly section. Government has informed Parliament. Banks advised to link MSME loans to external benchmark by RBI. New Delhi. With a view to improve monetary policy transmission, banks have been advised by the RBI to link loans to MSMEs to an external benchmark. The government has informed Parliament. The reset clause for loans has been reduced to 3 months under the external benchmark system. Further, to make the benefit of external benchmark based interest regime available to existing borrowers, banks have been advised to provide a switchover option as per mutually agreed terms. Moreover, the government implements quality control orders with exemptions and relaxations for MSMEs to ensure no disruption of domestic production. Minister of State for Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Karanlaze, Karanlaze, Shobha Karanlaze, in a written reply in the Lok Sabha. The next small article is SBI aims to double YONO app users. SETI. New Delhi, State Bank of India Chairman CS SETI. For those who are preparing for state or central civil services, State Bank of India Chairman CS SETI. Just just a quick small information, but quite important that Chairman of State Bank of India is CS SETI has said that the bank is targeting to double its YONO app user base to 20 crore over the next 2 years with the launch of a new version on Monday. YONO 2.0 is a significant upgrade, offering a better experience for customers and a robust digital platform for the bank, and full-fledged features will be rolled out over 6 to 8 months, he said. From a bank perspective, YONO 2.0 is a key anchor of digitalization with a common code for internet banking and mobile banking. This allows for seamless integration across channels, enabling SBI to launch new products and processes quickly. The bank aims to leverage YONO 2.0 to enhance its digital presence and customer engagement, he said. On December 5, the RBI lowered the repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25%. Moving to the world section, the first title is Brown University shooting leaves 2 dead, 9 injured. Given by Reuters, Rhode Island, December 14. Providence police have detained a person of interest in connection with the Brown University shooting that left 2 students dead and another 9 people wounded at the US Ivy League school. Christy Duceris, Chief Information Officer for Public Safety, told Reuters that a person of interest was in police custody following the shooting. Oscar Perez, Providence police chief, told reporters a suspect was taken into custody early Sunday and they are not seeking anyone else at this time. Authorities declined to share details about the individual as the probe remains active. 7 people injured at Brown University are in stable condition. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley said one remains in a critical but stable condition, while another has been discharged, he added. Smiley said Smiley said the shelter in place order for nearby neighborhoods was lifted after the arrest, but some streets remain shut as investigators work at the scene. Residents should expect a visible police presence across the city, he said. The police of Providence should breathe a little easier this morning, Smiley said. Smiley added. Brown said on Sunday that police has also lifted a shelter in place order for its campus in Rhode Island. More than 400 law enforcement personnel were deployed on Saturday as police sought a suspect who had entered a building where students were where students were taking exams with a firearm. Access to parts of the campus remained restricted on Sunday as police maintained a security perimeter around Minden Hall and nearby apartment buildings, said Brown, which has hundreds of buildings including lecture halls, laboratories, and domes. Streets around the campus had been packed with emergency vehicles on Saturday while law enforcement agencies sought the gunman. Agents from Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives were working with local and state police. Officials released a video of a suspect, a male possibly in his 30s and dressed in black. Providence Deputy Police Chief Timothy O'Hara. Providence Deputy Chief Pol- Providence Providence Deputy Police Chief Timothy O'Hara said on Saturday the individual may have wore a mask, but the center part of the paper by which it gets folded in two parts. Firstly, it's folded. Secondly, the print on it is not visible enough. It's not printed well. Providence Deputy Police Chief Timothy O'Hara said on Saturday the individual may have worn a mask, but officials were not certain. Investigators, hell man, investigators retrieved shell castings from the scene, O'Hara added. I request the Indian Express newspaper agency that please, it's okay to fold the newspaper in two parts. All the newspapers do so, but at least print this center part quite well. As you can see, it's not printed well. The reason why it's very difficult to read it. The gunman fled after shooting students in a classroom in Brown's Barus and Holy Engineering Building, where outer doors had been unlocked while exams were taking place. Officials said. Under desks for hours, as news of the shooting spread, the school told students to shelter in place. Brown student Xiang Heng Chan, Brown student Xiang Heng Chan told local TV station WJAR he was working in a lab with three other students when he saw the text about the active shooter situation a block away. They waited under desks for about 2 hours, he said. Rhode Island Governor Daniel Mackey vowed that the shooter would be brought to justice. President Donald Trump told reporters at the White House on Saturday that he had been briefed on the situation, which he called terrible. The next title is Chaos as Gunshots Rip Through a Hanukkah Celebration in Sydney. The same article, I guess, we read on the first page, if I'm not wrong. Right? 11 killed and some injured. Let me see. See, 11 killed in attack on Jewish event in Sydney. I guess this is the same article we read on the first page, but I believe the writers, the journalists who gave the first article and this one on the world section and the front page probably are different. Okay, yeah. So the journalists are different. The news is about the same thing, but the journalists are different. The reason why we would read this too. This article has been given by Emily Amelia Narenberg and Victoria Kim. Bondi Beach, December 14. Australian Jews had been gathering on Sunday on Bondi Beach in Sydney for an event to mark the first night of Hanukkah when gunshots sent people fleeing. At least 12 people were killed. Now, on the article mentioned on the first page, it's 11 here, it's 12. Authorities said, including a man police said was one of the shooters. Ebony Munro had her 17-month-old baby with her on the beach when she saw the celebration. It seemed like a family event, she said, with bubbles floating in the air and music. Then she started hearing gunshots. Munro, 32, probably 32 years old, dived under a metal barbecue, she said, after happening upon the Hanukkah celebration. A man was also taking shelter there. As they hid, she could smell the gunpowder from the bullets clanging above her head. Miss Munro said. The shooting lasted for about 10 minutes. She saw at least one person get shot. I was about to leave and I just heard this pop, Munro said after she and her baby were led to a nearby surf life saving club, an organization that promotes beach safety, where someone bandaged her scrapped knees. The police have not released information about the victims, but the head of the local Shabbat Kabed, a global Jewish outreach organization, told Israeli radio that one of the group's emissaries had been shot. As the last of the sunlight disappeared from Bondi Beach on Sunday, dozens of people were still sheltering inside nearby shops and restaurants. Finn Foster, 18 years old, probably a backpacker from Canada, said he and his girlfriend, I repeat, Finn Foster. The name of the guy is Finn Foster, 18 years old, a backpacker from Canada, said he and his girlfriend had been headed to McDonald's to get ice cream when they heard what sounded like fireworks. Wow. Not wow to the situation, but glad that 18-year could backpack and from Canada could hang out at Bondi Beach of Australia along with girlfriend. Okay. They started seeing panicked people sprinting away from the beach, jumping over cars and scaling concrete walls, pulling their children along. Poof, 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 he said, like 15 or 20. Mass shootings are rare in Australia. Mass shootings are rare in Australia because of the country's strict gun laws. The nation has one of the lowest gun related death rates in the developed world. The country overhauled its gun laws after a massacre in 1996 when 35 people were killed by a single gunman. I repeat, the country overhauled its gun laws after a massacre in 1996 when 35 people were killed by a single 35 people were killed by a single gunman in the Tanzanian town of Port Arthur. Following the shooting, public anger prompted the government to ban assault rifles and many other semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. It also imposed new registration new registration requirements and imposed gun buybacks that removed to a third of privately held gun from circulation and melted down up to a million guns. 35 people were killed by a single gunman in 1996. And after that, laws about guns got strict in Australia. And even after such strict restrictions, this incident witnessed death of 12 people. As per this article, as per the article mentioned on the first front page, 11 people, and as per this article, witnessed death of 12 people. And also, I remember on the first article, it's given as Australian authorities said, declaring it a terrorist attack. Okay. God. Prayers for all those souls. Prayers for all those souls. The next article is Belarus frees Nobel winner. I guess this is opposition, OPP, short form of opposition figures in deal with US, given by Reuters, Vilnius, December 14. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko freed 123 prisoners on Saturday, including Nobel. Sorry, I'll repeat this. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko freed 123 prisoners on Saturday, including Nobel Peace Prize winner Ales Bialyatsky and leading opposition figure Maria Kolesnikova in a deal brokered by an envoy for US President Donald Trump. In return, the US agreed to lift sanctions on Belarusian potash. Potash is a key component in fertilizers, and the former Soviet state is a leading global producer. The prisoner release was by far the biggest by Lukashenko since Trump's administration opened talks this year with the veteran authori- authoritarian leader. Western governments had previously shunned him because of his crushing of dissent and backing for Russia's war in Ukraine. Trump's envoy John Cole told Reuters that around 1,000 remaining political prisoners in Belarus could be released, hopefully, in one big group in the coming months. The next title is Zelensky US envoys meet in Berlin to discuss peace deal, given by Associated Press, Berlin, December 14. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US envoys arrived in Berlin on Sunday for another round of talks intended to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine, as Moscow and Kiev stuck to their sharply opposite views of a prospective peace deal. Zelensky said that Ukrainian, US, and European officials will hold a series of meetings. He said he'll meet personally with US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff son and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner in Berlin. Zelensky emphasized the need for Ukraine to receive firm guarantees from the United States and European allies that would be similar to those offered to NATO members. After the US and some European countries stonewalled Ukraine's bid to join the military alliance, these security guarantees are an opportunity to prevent another wave of Russian aggression, he said. Zelensky emphasized that any security assurances would need to be legally binding and supported by the US Congress, adding that he expected an update from his team following a meeting between Ukrainian and US military officials in Stuttgart. He said that he'll meet separately with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and possibly other European leaders later in the evening. Zelensky said he had not yet received any response from the US to Ukraine's latest proposals on the peace plan. Washington has tried for months to navigate the demands of each side as Trump presses for a swift end to Russia's war and grows increasingly exasperated by delays. Tough obstacles remain. Russia's President Vladimir Putin wants Ukraine to withdraw its forces from the part of the Don, Donetsk region still under its control. Among the key conditions for peace, a demand Zelensky rejected on Sunday. The next title is Hamas says Israel's killing of senior leader threatens ceasefire. Given by Reuters, Cairo, December 14. Hamas chief Hamas chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya said on Sunday that a targeted assassination by Israel on Saturday of one of the group's senior commanders threatens the viability of the truce in the enclave. In a televised address, Hayya, who is also exiled Gaza Hamas chief, confirmed the killing of the group's senior commander, Red said, in an Israeli strike a day earlier. It was the highest profile assassination of a senior Hamas figure since a US backed Gaza ceasefire deal came into effect in October. The continued Israeli violations to the ceasefire agreement and latest assassinations that targeted Said and others threaten the viability of the agreement, he said. We call on mediators and especially the main guarantor, the US administration and President Donald Trump, to work on obligating Israel to respect the ceasefire and commit to it. Hamas sources have described Said as the second in command of the group's armed wing after Is Eldin al-Haddad. Israel says Said was one of the key architects of the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel that triggered the war. Haya, Haya also spoke about proposed UN authorized international stabilization force. The role of the international forces should be limited to maintaining the ceasefire and separating the two sides along Gaza borders, without any role inside the Strip or intervention in its domestic affairs, he said. Deployment of the force is a key part of the next phase of Trump's Gaza peace plan. Under the first phase, a fragile ceasefire in the 2 year old war began in October 10 with Hamas releasing hostages and Israel has freeing detained Palestinians. The US Central Command will host a conference in Doha on December 16 with partner nations to plan the international stabilization force for Gaza, US officials told Reuters. Hamas sources described Said as second in command of the group's armed wing after Izzeldin al-Haddad. After Izzeldin al-Haddad, Israel says Israel says Said was one of the key architects of the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel that triggered the war. The next title is Rewriting Trade Morocco to Boost Legal cannabis farming. Given by Associated Press, Babbage, December 14. Since he started growing cannabis at 14, Mohammed Maklov has lived in the shadows, losing sleep while bracing for a knock on his door from authorities that could mean prison or his entire harvest confiscated. confiscated. But after decades of operating in secret, Maklov has gained peace of mind as Morocco expands legal cultivation and works to integrate veteran growers like him into the formal economy. On his farmland, deep in the Rif Mountains, stalks of a government approved cannabis strain rise from the earth in dense clusters. He notices when the police pass on a nearby road, but where the crop's aroma once meant danger, today there is no cause for concern. They know he sells to a local cooperative. Legalization is freedom, McLaughlin said. If you want your work to be clean, your work with the companies and within the law. The 70-year-old McLaughlin's story mirrors the experience of a small but growing number of farmers who started in Morocco's vast black market but now sell legally to cooperatives producing cannabis for medicinal and industrial use. Morocco is the world's biggest producer of cannabis and top supplier of the resin used to make hashish. For years, authorities have oscillated between looking the other way and cracking down, even as the economy directly or indirectly supports hundreds of thousands of people in the Rif Mountains, according to nations, reports, and government data. Ab- Abdel Salam, Abdel Salam Amraji, another cannabis farmer who joined the legal industry, said the crop is crucial to keeping the community afloat. Local farmers have tried cultivating wheat, nuts, apples, and other crops, but none have yielded viable results, he said. Though cannabis can fetch higher prices on the black market, the decreased risk is worth it. Amraji said, making money in the illegal field brings fear and problems, he said. When everything is legal, none of that happens. The government insists the transformation is only beginning and challenges can be overcome. But black market demand remains high. Today, cannabis is grown legally on 14,300 acres, that's 5,800 hectares, in the Rif, while more than 67,000 acres, 27,100 hectares, are used for illegal growing, according to government data. For now, Morocco's two cannabis economies exist side by side, one regulated outl- and one outlawed, as the country tries to coax a centuries old trade out of the shadows without leaving its farmers behind. Now there are some small articles left of the neighboring countries. First, Pakistan. Security forces kill three terrorists in KPK province. Three terrorists associated with the banned terror outfit Tehreek-e-Taliban, Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan were killed in an intelligence-based operation in northwest Pakistan's restive Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, police said on Sunday. The operation was conducted in the area close to the Pak-Afghan border in, ba- in Bajor in Bajor district after the reported presence of the terrorists. The terrorists were involved in activities like attacks on security forces, police, and IED blasts. Another one from Nepal, Indian envoy in Nepal recovering in hospital. Indian ambassador to Nepal, Naveen Srivastav, who had taken ill during a hike in Nepal's Lalitpur district, is stable, officials said on Sunday. Srivastav was airlifted to Kathmandu in a Nepal Army helicopter on Saturday after sudden health problems during the hike at Champadevi Hill in the district situated north of Kathmandu. He was admitted to Grand Hospital in Kathmandu, where he is currently recu- recuperating recuperating after treatment. Srivastav's condition is normal. Next is from Sudan. Six peacekeepers killed in drone strike. UN chief. A drone strike hit a United Nations facility in war-torn Sudan on Saturday, killing six peacekeepers. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said. The strike hit the peacekeeping logistics base in the city of Kadugli in the central region of Kordofan, Guterres, Guterres said in a statement. The next is from Iran. Foreign minister to visit Russia and Belarus. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi will visit Russia and Belarus in the next 2 to 3 days. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghi said on Sunday. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian met Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Turkmenistan Turkmenistan on Friday. Next from Thailand. Government says Cambodian rocket fire caused its first civilian death. Thailand's government said a rocket attack from Cambodia on Sunday killed a 63-year-old villager. Its first civilian death reported as a direct result of combat over the past week along the border of the two Southeast Asian nations. Both countries confirmed that large scale fighting, which was set off by a skirmish on December 7 that wounded two Thai soldiers, continued Sunday. The two sides are battling over long standing competing claims to patches of frontier land, some of which contain centuries old temple ruins. Now, there are some reactions of world leaders to the shooting at Bondi Beach. Deeply distressing news from Australia. The United Kingdom sends their thoughts and condolences to everyone affected by the appalling, appalling attack in Bondi Beach. Keir Starmer, UK Prime Minister. Australia and New Zealand are closer than friends. They are family. We are family. I am shocked by the distressing scenes at Bondi, a place that Kiwis visit every day. My thoughts are with those affected. Christopher Luxon, Prime Minister of New Zealand. I am appalled by the murderous, murderous shooting attack at a Hanukkah event in Australia. These are results of anti-Semitic rampage over the past 2 years with the anti-Semitic and inciting calls of globalize the intifada that were realized today, given by Gideon Sar, Foreign Minister of Israel. Shocked by the tragic attack at Bondi Beach, I send my heartfelt condolences to the families and loved ones of the victims. Given by Ursula von der Leyen. Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission President. And some small information about the Bondi Beach. A half-mile crescent of yellow sand that sits less than 4 miles from downtown Sydney. Australia is one of the country's most famous destinations for locals and tourists. Hundreds of thousands of people visit the beach, pronounced Bondi, every year. In 2022, more than 880,000 domestic visitors went to the beach in a single day, according to the New South Wales government. The beach is nestled the beach is nestled in Sydney's Bondi Junction, a hub of commercial activity that includes restaurants, bars, cafes, and shopping centers. The beach was part of a large private estate until the mid 19th century, when it was opened to the public in 1882. That's all for today. If you are still here, thank you for being till the end and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.